Hi all, thanks for joining me. Justin here, doing a little demo on inventory adjustments for 7.9 and earlier. So if you're running EBMS 7.9 or something prior to that, you may have an inventory adjust counts option. So it goes to inventory menu, adjust end of year counts, something like this. That's what you're going to see. So in most cases, when time comes to do some inventory counting, I know I can talk, right? Then a lot of times people go through and they may or may not go down through their inventory list. Let me just stretch some of this stuff out here. And they may go through each one individually, go to the counts, adjust it, change that to 0. Maybe the unit value is fine, date might be, they need to backdate it. So you can do that, one at a time. That's fine. EBMS can handle that, but that's a tedious process. So what we did is, in a lot of cases, now this is going to be standard in 8.1, but in 7.9, if you had a scanner or you purchased this end of your accounts tool, then you had it in your system. So some of you may not actually have this. So what we do to get this started here is we go to inventory and then adjust end of year counts. The control number can be anything you decide it can be. It's just a reference, so you can get back to it if you need to. So let's say we're doing our counts for 2017. I'll start a control for 2017. Here's our dialog box. We'll stretch this out over here a little bit. So we got a lot of information here. You could change this adjustment date. Say I want to backdate everything to Monday the 31st, and you can look up inventory items from here. So you can add inventory this way and adjust the quantity, say 5, and so on. Go down through the list. Not quite as tedious as opening each individual record by themselves, but still not quite as efficient as if you were able to simply add an entire list of inventory already with the counts. So we do have this option to import from .csv files. So let's save this and close it. And what we do here is I typically encourage our users to run a physical inventory report. So go to File, Reports. I'll escape out of here and go to the main. There's also reporting quick shortcut here underneath Financials. That file is found under our inventory and counts and values. There's a physical inventory worksheet, and this is a great report to print out for your employees to go through and do their inventory counting. So you can print it out by category, the different folders here, or you can just do everything. You can also limit it to just show the ones that have on-hand counts. So if it's a 0 on hand, it wouldn't show. That may be or may not be good in your case. A lot of times we'll just take that off and show them anyway. And then also there's an option to show on-hand counts right alongside the a space to put in the true on-hand count. And then of course we can also show lot and serial number details. So in most cases you're going to want to run just for the track count items. So no count items obviously would not show up in this report. Service items would not show up. Non-inventory serialized items, those would not show up in this, nor would your percentage discounts and things like that. So this is limited to just things that can be counted. Alright, let's do a print preview here and we'll see what we find. Might be a long report here. It shouldn't take too long. There we go. So it's broken down by folder here. So each folder has a section of inventory items underneath it. There's a physical count section over here on the right side. The user can input that. What is handy about this is I can actually export this to a spreadsheet. So typically I do just the data only type stuff. Click OK. And I'll save it to the desktop here. So let's say this is 2017 inventory counts, or just inventory. Make it a little shorter. 2017 InVen. Alright, so you save it to your location. This is just a spreadsheet, and we're going to do the typical data export with default options applied. And that should have exported by now. Close that report. And I'm going to right click, and this is Windows 10, so I can right click on there and show desktop. Of course, Windows 7 has that. They usually have a little button here on the right side. If you can see that on the screen, that would also show your desktop and hide it. So, a little side note there. Okay, let's go into our spreadsheet here. 2017 InVen. I'll open this one up. It popped up over on the other screen, so I'll drag it over here for you. Highlight the whole thing, and you can double click on a vertical column here, like between A and B or B and C. It'll actually spread it out to match the length of the cells. So, quick little Excel tip there. So I've got my ID in one column, description, and physical counts. So you could use that report that you printed out for your employees and go through here and fill in, say, your physical counts. You know, whatever those might be. So this is another, so you can fill in your counts here. Once you are done and you save this, there's a couple other steps to turn this over to a .csv file. So step number one is I only need 2 columns that I need to import into that EBMS inventory adjustment tool. I need a column called ID. And don't worry about the folder lines. These will not be imported with anything because it's not a valid inventory ID. So EBMS is going to catch that and say it's a bad ID. We're not going to do anything with it. Take out the columns you don't need. Description, don't need that. Location, don't need that. The unit of measure, that's the default unit of measure you're counting, so you don't have to have that. There is a blank space here on this one. Delete that. And change this from physical count to count. EBMS will recognize the ID and will recognize the count, and they will recognize it in that order. So you need to have ID first, then the count. All right, so I'm going to save this as a .csv file. If you're doing it in Windows 7 or Microsoft 2013, this dialog might look a little different, but the options should be the same. You can change it from the normal standard XLS to a .csv. 2017 inven.csv file and save. And we're saving it to the desktop again. So I can close this. And now we're going to go to our inventory, adjust end of year counts, put in your control number, 2017, that was the one I made, and see everything stayed here just the way it was. Now I'm going to import from .csv. And 7.9 and earlier, the dialog here is a little bit rough. It's not as refined as we would like it to see, but we made some changes in 8.1 that address this, so it should be easier. So here it tells you enter the path of the file to be imported. The file name must have a .csv extension. The first line of the file must be column headings ID and count. Okay, so we did that. Let's go back to our desktop and I'll show you what to do from here. So we need to copy the path, not the file. So I've got one here, it's a .csv. To copy it as path, if I right click on here to go to copy, if I use this, it'll copy the file, which is not what I want. I want to copy the path to this file. I mean, it's on the desktop. I could go through users and all that, but the easy way is hold down Shift. So I've got the file selected here. Hold down Shift, right click, and now you have a copy as path option. I've let go of the Shift key now, and this copy as path option is here. I'll select that. Go back to EBMS. This should all still be up. Now I can right click and paste, and that copied the path. So it went to C drive, users, J Miller, desktop, yada, 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 all the way to the file. The other thing you need to do here that's not in the instructions is you need to take out the double quotes. So take off the double quotes at the end here and go all the way back. You can use the home key here and go to the front of the path and delete that other double quote. Click OK. And that's what you'll see happen, is that it'll go through, and again I said the dialog's pretty rough, so it'll go through 100% for every 100 items. So it'll just keep on going and going and going like that. I'm going to hit cancel here so it stops. So we've got a long list of items here. Now you could do your entire inventory this way, just bring them all in, and then from that spreadsheet go down through and update the quantities here directly rather than in the spreadsheet, then doing the saving and all that. So there's some options there. Note what you're going to see here is you're going to see some blank lines because these are folders. It says it's a bad imported ID. And you're going to see track count type items, and you'll see a description and a cost and all that good stuff. And it'll have a control number and who did it. So it stores all that information. You can go through, make any final adjustments you need to. The cool thing is you can actually sort by these columns as well. So I can sort by quantity. Let's say I want to see my lowest. Yep. So all these here, obviously 0, and they've got 0 inventory items on it. So let's do this. And you could also sort it by cost. So you can see your lower dollar items first, and so on. So those are sortable controls. I would recommend if you're going to update this list from a spreadsheet or from the paper that your employees gave you, that you should probably not do any type of sorting until those numbers are entered, because that will, of course, mess up the order of the inventory items, how they're grouped together. So when you're done, I recommend clicking the Adjust All Items, and that will adjust the item to the quantity that's set here. So the ones that are set to 0, that'll adjust it to 0. The other option is to add to the items. So that would mean you've got 5 on the shelf here, but I'm going to add another 5 to it, increasing my total count to 10. So something pretty a niche area that you would need to use that button. So in most cases, adjust all items. One thing you're going to do yet is make sure that this date is backdated to the date that you want it to be. So that's when the adjustment will be recorded in EBMS, and that's the inventory you'll have as of that date, minus, of course, any open orders that have things shipped on them. So, okay, and that's it. Click OK. Oops, let's go back to 2000. Let's actually run that adjustment. So 2017. Click OK. Brings up the full list. If you have like thousands, it might take a while to load this, just so you're aware. Click Adjust All Items. This will adjust inventory counts. Actually, I want to backdate it to the 31st again. And it'll go through this little loading screen here and adjust everything for you. So the other question that's sometimes brought is, should I adjust my accounts down to 0? You can. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It just makes an extra adjustment then. So in your transaction records, if you want to go back and see when the last time it was adjusted and the difference between the two, because we do have a report for that. So let's say, that you wanted to run a report saying what your adjustment was and how much it was adjusted the last time. You're going to have to run probably 2 periods. One when you made the adjustment to 0, and then another one from 0 on up to whatever your current count is. So that's why we recommend just making the adjustments as they are and adjusting it. That way your reports accurately show what the old count was versus the new count. So that's all for this little video. I'll make another one for the 8.1 version. It's a little bit more streamlined and a little better interface and a little bit easier to operate. Thank you.